Let's begin with a quiet truth that hums beneath the surface of every crowded room, fleeting glance and heartbeat that skips when two people connect. Attraction isn't what most men think it is. I've spent years as a psychologist peeling back the layers of human relationships, watching friends stumble through awkward dates. These counseling clients couldn't figure out why love slipped through their fingers. Even reflecting on my moments of wonder and misstep. But what I've learned time and again is that the game isn't one with a chiseled jaw, a fat wallet, or the perfect pickup line. Those might get you in the door, but they don't keep her there. What keeps her there, what makes her not just notice you, but need you, is something more profound, psychological, and primal. Today I will walk you through 10 hidden weaknesses, 10 psychological triggers that every woman carries, no matter how strong or independent she seems. These aren't flaws to exploit. They're pathways to understanding, doorways to a real and unshakable connection, rooted in science, sharpened by the timeless wisdom of Stoicism, and tested in life's raw, messy beauty. These truths will change how you see attraction and how she sees you. Picture a woman, maybe she's the one who lights up a room with her laugh, who walks with a confidence that turns heads, who seems to have it all together, career friends, a life that looks flawless from the outside. You'd think she's untouchable, right? That she's beyond the reach of any man who doesn't match her stride for stride. But here's the secret. Beneath that polished surface, there's a current of instinct and emotion she can't fully control. It's not weakness in the negative sense, not a crack in her armor to prey on. It's a human truth, a set of vulnerabilities wired into her by biology, shaped by psychology, and waiting for the right man to awaken. Attraction isn't about the obvious stuff we're sold in movies or magazines. A sharp suit or flashy car might catch her eye, but they won't hold her heart. What holds her heart is how you make her feel, not through grand, desperate gestures, but through subtle, deliberate moves that hit her on a level she doesn't even see coming. Once you understand these triggers, you don't just win her over, you become a presence that lingers in her mind, a man she's drawn to, not out of habit, but out of something ancient, something she can't name. Power of your touch. So let's start at the beginning with something as simple and profound as the power of your touch. Imagine you're sitting across from her. Maybe it's a first date. The air thick with the hum of a busy cafe, coffee cups, clinking voices overlapping. You're talking trading stories, and then almost without thinking, you reach out and rest your hand on her wrist, just for a moment, light as a breeze. As you emphasize a point, she doesn't pull away. Her eyes flicker, her breath catches, and you can feel a shift in her. Even if she doesn't say a word, why does this happen? Science has a clear answer. When you touch someone, their brain releases oxytocin, often dubbed the bonding hormone. The same chemical floods a mother's system when she cradles her baby, forging trust, comfort, and an unspoken connection. A study from the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships dug into this, showing that even brief, intentional touch can deepen emotional ties in ways that words alone can't reach. For women, this isn't just a nice sensation, it's a signal, a whisper of safety and strength that slips past her logical defenses and lands somewhere deeper. But it's not just the biology that matters, it's how you use it. She can argue with your compliments and brush off your flattery with a laugh, but she can't argue with how her body responds to that subtle, confident contact. Picture a man guiding her through a crowded room, his hand resting lightly on her lower back, not gripping, not lingering too long, just a quiet assertion of presence that says, "I've got this." Or imagine him brushing a strand of hair from her face mid-con conversation, his fingers grazing her cheek for a heartbeat before pulling back, leaving her with a flush. She doesn't quite understand. These aren't desperate grabs for attention. They're controlled, deliberate, sporadic. That's the magic touch too much, and your clingy touch too little and invisible. It's a dance, and the Stoics would see the wisdom in it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That fleeting touch is your mind in action, steering her emotions without force, signaling that you're a man who knows what he's doing, who's present without being pushy. I've seen this transform men clients who went from stiff handshakes and nervous pats to quiet, confident gestures, watching women light up in their presence like flowers turning toward the sun. It's not about overpowering her. It's about waking something ancient inside her, feeling protected, desired, alive. I remember a man I worked with, let's call him David. He was in his early 30s, charming in his way, but perpetually stuck in the friend zone. He'd go on dates, crack jokes, keep things light, but nothing ever clicked beyond that first meeting. I don't get it. He told me one session, I'm nice, I listen, I'm not Badal looking. What's missing? We started small. I asked him to try something on his next date. When the moment felt right, to touch her arm or shoulder lightly just once, no big deal, and then let it go. He came back a week later, eyes wide. She didn't say anything about it, he said, but she kept finding excuses to sit closer. It was like I flipped a switch. That's the power of touch. It doesn't need words to work. It's primal, instinctive, a language older than language itself. The Stoics would call this an exercise in restraint, knowing when to act and when to hold back. Epictetus put it this way: there is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things beyond the power of our will. You can't control how she feels, but you can control that moment of connection, and trust me, she'll feel it. The forbidden effect. Now let's shift to something less tangible, but just as magnetic. The forbidden effect, or what psychologists call the scarcity principle. Ever notice how the last piece of chocolate in the box looks so much better than the whole pile did? An hour ago, Robert Cialdini nailed this in his research. We want what's rare, what's hard to hold on to. Apply that to attraction, and you've got a secret weapon most men never pick up if you're always there. Texting back in seconds, dropping everything to see her, laying your heart bare on the table. She starts to see you as a given, comfortable piece of furniture in her life. It's nice, sure, but it's not thrilling. But if you're a little elusive, if she senses you've got a world beyond her, a life of goals, friends, passions, something shifts. Something shifts. She doesn't just settle into you. She leans forward curious, craving your attention because it's not a sure thing. She starts to wonder where you are, what you're doing, why you're not chasing her like everyone else. And that scarcity wonder, it's the spark that keeps her coming back. I once worked with a man named James, a classic nice guy who couldn't figure out why his girlfriend was pulling away. He was the dream partner on paper, always available, always sweet, constantly texting, good morning, like it was his job too, available. It turned out she'd started taking him for granted. Her replies growing shorter, her interest fading into a polite hum. I don't want to lose her, he told me, but I don't know what I'm doing wrong. We flipped the script. James picked up an old hobby rock, climbing something he'd loved in college, but let slide. He started meeting friends again, carving out time for himself, letting a few of her texts sit unanswered for hours. He didn't vanish completely. He stopped orbiting her like a satellite. The result she noticed, she asked where he'd been, teased him about his secret life, even planned a date to regain his focus. Scarcity didn't push her away. It pulled her in like gravity she couldn't resist. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus would have loved this. He said, "What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears. Don't waste your tears chasing her. Build a life worth pursuing and let her feel the tug of your absence. It's not about being cold. It's about being whole, a man with a center she can't help but circle." Let me tell you about another case, Lisa and Mark, a couple I saw a few years back. Mark was the doting type, always at her beck and call, and Lisa, sharp and ambitious, started to drift. "He's great," she told me, "but I don't have to try anymore." Mark was crushed. He thought giving her everything was the key, so we worked on scarcity. He stopped jumping at every call, took a weekend to visit an old friend without over-explaining. Let her wonder for once. Lisa didn't storm off. She started texting him first, asking about his plans, showing up with a spark in her eye. "I didn't realize how much I liked chasing him," she admitted later. That's the forbidden effect. It's drama. Not about pushing her away, it's about giving her space to pull closer. Seneca. The Stoic sage wrote, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than reality. Let her imagination do the work. Make her wonder, and she'll move mountains to find you." Next up, drama, not the screaming in the rain kind you see in movies, but the subtle electric push and pull that keeps her hooked. Our brains are wired for dopamine, that rush of pleasure we get from rewards. But here's the catch. Dopamine doesn't just spike when things are good. It thrives on contrast, on the unpredictable shift between highs and lows. A relationship that's too steady and safe can feel like a flat line. No peaks, no valleys, just a monotonous hum. She might not admit it, but she craves the spark of uncertainty, the emotional texture that keeps her engaged. Think about the last time you went quiet for a day, no warning, no explanation, and came back to find her curious, maybe even a little edgy. That tension isn't a flaw, it's fuel. Tease her playfully 1 minute, then drop into a quiet, intense gaze. The next disappear into your world briefly, then reappear with a story or a laugh. Keep her guessing, not out of malice but out of mastery. I remember a woman I counseled, old Sarah, who couldn't stop talking about a man she dated briefly. He wasn't the richest or the best looking guy she'd met, but he had this way of pulling her in. One night he'd be all charm, funny, attentive, lighting up the room with energy. The next, he'd go silent, off doing his own thing, leaving her wondering, "What shifted? I couldn't figure him out," she said. And that's why I couldn't forget him. It wasn't chaos, it was chemistry. She dated predictable men before, steady, reliable, always there, and they'd bored her to tears. This guy kept her on her toes, not with anger or games, but with a dynamic she couldn't pin down. The Stoics understood this. Your voice balance. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Don't waste it on predictability. Give her an experience, not a script. Be the man who keeps her mind spinning, not settling into a rut." Take another example. A client named Chris, who'd always been the stable in relationships. He prided himself on it. No fights, no surprises, just a smooth, even keel. But his last girlfriend left him saying, "I need more fire." He didn't get it. Fire sounded like trouble. So he introduced a little controlled chaos. He started teasing her, playfully disappearing for a day to work on a project, then showing up with a grin and a story. She didn't run, she lit up. I didn't know you had this side, she told him. That's the power of drama. It's not about breaking things, it's about keeping them alive. Marcus Aurelius said the art of living is more like wrestling than dancing. Wrestle gently, deliberately with her emotions, and she'll stay in the ring. Your voice, yes, that everyday tool you barely think about holds more power than you might realize. A study from the University of Aberdeen found that women are drawn to lower-pitched voices that resonate with calm and command. It's not just the tone, it's how you use it. You speak too fast and sound jittery, like you're scrambling for approval. Drag it out too long, and you're uncertain, lost in your head. But find that sweet spot. Slow, deliberate, with a pause before the big moment. And she's hooked. It's like a drumbeat she can't ignore. I once coached a man named Daniel, a nervous talker who'd rush through dates, words tumbling over each other like they were racing to escape. I just want her to like me, he said. We worked on it. Deep breaths, intentional, pauses, a slight drop in pitch when he wanted her to listen. Within weeks, he noticed women leaning in, hanging on his words. I didn't change what I said, he told me, just how I said it. That Stoic disciple shared memory. His date didn't storm off. She slid closer, suddenly more attentive, her hand finding his. Later, she admitted, I didn't realize how much I liked him until I saw her. That's jealousy's quiet power. It's not about making her insecure, it's about reminding her you're worth holding on to. Epictetus would nod. First say to yourself what you would be, then do what you must do. Be the man others notice and she'll see you more. It's not arrogance, evidence of your value. And she'll feel it. Let's talk tension. The slow, delicious burn of not giving her everything at once. Rush in with promises and plans and you kill the magic. Women love the dance of will. Won't he, that space where she's not quite sure where she stands. Flirt with her tease, her, then pull back, just a touch. Let her text sit unanswered for an hour. Take your time before leaning in for that first kiss. It's not about playing hard to get, but building something she can feel growing. I've seen men lose incredible women because they laid it all out too fast. Every feeling, every hope, no mystery, left to unravel. One client Mike used to smother his dates with attention, constant texts, instant replies, plans locked in. Days ahead, I just want her to know I'm serious, he said. But they faded away, overwhelmed. When he slowed down, flirting without committing, pausing before escalating, he found women chasing him. She keeps asking when we're hanging out again, he laughed. That's tension, the thread that keeps her tied to you. I remember a woman I met at a workshop, Anna, who'd been dating a guy for months. He's great, she said, but it's too easy. I know exactly what he'll do next. They broke up soon after. She craved the uncertainty. He couldn't give contrast that with her next boyfriend, a man who'd flirt one day, go quiet the next, take his time before making a move. I'm obsessed with him, she confessed, because I don't have him all figured out. Marcus Aurelius wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. That delay isn't a barrier, it's the path to her heart. Don't rush her into certainty, let her savor the chase. Mystery is its kind of magic. The less you reveal, the more she imagines. Spill every detail, your fears, dream's favorite breakfast cereal, and she's got you pegged. No room for wonder. But hold back. Dodge a question with a grin. Shift the conversation somewhere unexpected and her mind starts spinning. She thinks about you when you're not there, filling in the blanks with her fantasies. I once heard a woman describe a man she couldn't shake, Not because he was loud or flashy, but because he'd go quiet sometimes, lost in his world, leaving her aching to know what was behind those eyes. He didn't tell me everything she said, so I couldn't stop wondering. It's not about being distant, it's about being a puzzle worth solving. Take a guy. I knew Ryan, who used to overshare on dates. Every story and thought laid bare, I want her to know me. And he'd say, but the women he liked would drift bored by the lack of depth to discover. We changed that he started holding back answering questions with a smirk, and maybe I'll tell you later, shifting gears before she could pin him down. One date turned into 5, and she told him, I feel like there's so much more to you. He just stopped handing it all over Seneca's words, fit here. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Let her imagination run wild with you and she'll keep coming back. It's not secrecy, it's space for her to dream. Authority, quite unshakable leadership, is a force. She can't resist. Women test you, not to break you, but to see if you'll stand. Decide where you're eating tonight instead of asking her to pick every time. Hold your ground in a debate. Not out of stubbornness, but conviction. She doesn't want a yes man, she wants a rock. One man, I knew Alex turned it around by stopping the people-pleasing. He started saying no when it mattered, picking the movie, leading the night. She didn't push back. She followed, drawn to his clarity. I saw this with a couple I counselled, old Ben and Claire. Ben used to defer to her on everything. Whatever you want, he'd say, thinking it was kindness. Claire grew frustrated, snapping at him over small things. I need him to take charge. Sometimes, she told me. So Ben stepped up, planned a weekend trip, set boundaries when she pushed, and stood firm without apology. Claire didn't fight it. She softened, smiling more, leaning into him. I feel like I can relax. Now, she said, the Stoics live this. You have power over your mind, Marcus wrote. Not outside events own that power, and she'll lean into it. It's not dominance, it's direction. Emotions are a drug when they twist and turn. Be the man who takes her on a ride. Not reckless, but a deliberate weave of warmth and distance, surprise and challenge. Agree with her too much and she'll drift. Push back playfully. Drop an unexpected gift. Go quiet for a day, then return with a spark. She'll crave the next hit. It's not chaos, it's contrast. I knew a man who kept his wife enchanted for decades this way, shifting from stoic silence to sudden wild affection. He wasn't predictable, he was alive. One night he'd leave her a note saying, "Miss me yet?" and vanish until morning. The next, he'd pull her into a dance in the kitchen, she'd laugh, "I never know what's coming." That's the emotional roller coaster. She didn't just love submissive him. Contrast that with a client, Sam, who played it safe, always agreeable, always steady. His girlfriend left saying, "It's like dating a robot. We shook things up." He started teasing her, disappearing for a bit, surprising her with a random coffee delivery. She didn't just come back, she couldn't stay away. Seneca said, life is long if you know how to use it. Use it to keep her feeling, not just existing. It's not about instability, it's about keeping the flame flickering. Finally, there's the submissive trigger, the dance of masculine and feminine. When you stand tall, certain radiating quiet dominance, she can soften into herself, hesitate, shrink, apologize for being you. And that dynamic collapses. It's not about force, it's about presence. Hold your space, set your boundaries, and move with purpose. She'll feel safe to let go. A woman once told me about her husband. He doesn't say much, but when he does, I listen. Or when he moves, I follow. He stood straight, spoke confidently, and acted without apology, not loud, aggressive, Or, sure, she melted into that strength. I saw this with a man named Greg, who used to shrink in relationships, nervous, eager to please, constantly second-guessing. His girlfriend grew distant and restless. We worked on his presence, shoulders back voice, steady decisions, firm. He stopped asking for permission and started leading. She didn't resist. She blossomed, saying, I feel like I can be myself now. That's the trigger. Your masculinity lets her femininity shine. Stoicism shines here. Control yourself, and the world aligns. Epictetus said, no man is free who is not master of himself. Master yourself, and she'll surrender, not to you, but to the connection you create. So here's the truth laid bare. Most men miss this. They chase with desperation, not mastery. They think attraction is a sprint, run fast, grab hard, hold tight, but it's not. It's a craft, a slow burn, a stoic practice of discipline and depth. Master these triggers: touch, scarcity, drama, voice, jealousy, tension, mystery, authority, emotion, masculinity. And you're not just a man she likes. You're the one she needs. You'll stand out, not because you shout, but because you understand. Marcus Aurelius wrote, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one, don't argue about attraction. Be the man who embodies it. Build it with stoic precision and watch her world tilt toward you.